Yo, a 1, 2, a 3, 4. I'm about to specialize my Diverge and I'm coming through the door. What is going on, YouTube world? I'm your brother Reza, KRT LYFE, KRT LYFE with a Y, and this right here is a little bit of wrenching in the parking deck, but this is an alternation of wrenching in the parking deck because I'm wrenching in the apartment. Turn up. And yes, this is my 2019 Specialized Diverge right here behind me. We're about to do some crazy, massive modifications to this thing to make it a little bit lighter, a little bit faster, a little bit better. So anyway, without further ado, all the parts, all the tools. So I got this little tool kit so I would never have to go to another bike shop again. And it's pretty cool. I bought this thing on Amazon. It has a lot of stuff in it. Almost everything you can need to tune or to build a bike. I mean, when you look at this list, what's in here? Wrenches, Torx bits, hex bits, freewheel removers, bottom bracket removing tools, torque wrench. I mean, everything. Like, I mean, you can just look on this thing and you can see that there's a lot going on in this toolkit, and all this stuff is bike specific. That's the great thing about this. My other toolkit is more car specific. This is bike specific. And I also got down there on the floor that I'm about to pick up right now, I got parts. What kind of parts do I got? Well, I got a drivetrain. I got, what else I got? I got handlebar tape. Let's see. Yep, handlebar tape. Let's see, the drivetrain components right here. I got a rear derailleur. Shimano, not Shimano, I'm sorry. SRAM Rival. What else? I got a chain ring. This right here is a 42 tooth chain ring. I got cranks. Look at my crank. Look at this crank I got, y'all. When you see this crank, y'all gonna be like, ooh, that's a good one. Here we go. SRAM Force carbon fiber crank with like the crazy chain. And I see this chain ring is about to come off and be replaced with that other one I just put wherever I put it. And yeah, I got rival shifters. I got a new bottom bracket. So we're about to have some fun. So let's get ready. Let's do some time lapses. This bike is about to be modified. It's gonna be a 1x, so it's gonna be a 42 in the front, and then it's gonna be 11 gears in the back. Stay tuned. Here we go. Boom. So downstairs we have an actual bike rack that I can use to do all the fine tuning. But I'm going to do the majority of this work up here, and I'm going to use the old school method of turning the bike upside down to take the bottom bracket off and the chain and the cassette and the derailleurs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm about to start right now. Drive side off, I got crank arm off, yeah, chains off. All you gotta do is pull out the bottom bracket, and then I'm gonna actually weigh these and see what the weight savings is going to. Wow, it's probably gonna be a lot. All right, bottom bracket is on its way out. About to get the scale and measure these things. In fact, wait, do you have me the scale? So the question at hand is, we want to know how much heavier this stock bottom bracket and crank is versus this carbon fiber one over here. And I can tell you by feeling them, it's a big difference. That thing is 1,206 grams. That's the stock crank and chain rings and bottom bracket. All right, so now we're gonna see how much this one weighs. 786 grams. Wow. Massive weight savings already. All right, ladies and gents. So this is the chain ring and spider that came off the crank that I'm going to be using. But this one was not right. This one is what is this thing right here? It is a 52. And that would have been a lot of pedaling for me. So I was like, you know what? I did a little bit of research and I found that this one right here, this 42 teeth, is what I needed. But when I tried to swap this to that spider, this is a 130, too big. So I had to order a 110, and the 110 fits perfectly. So now all I gotta do is swap my screws out, tighten everything up, put my bottom bracket and crank back together, and then I can move on to the derailleur and the cassette. And yeah, maybe I can finish this tonight. I don't know yet. Let's see what I do. Just like that, the crank is now together. Crank is now on, and rear derailleur is on. Now I'm changing the rear cassette. I'm swapping out that cassette for this cassette. All right, ladies and gentlemen, finally my bike is officially a one-by. It took a little bit of doing, but we're finally there. It wasn't a very difficult process to swap the drivetrain over and do all that kind of stuff. It was just kind of a little tedious because there's a lot of little small pieces that you kind of need to be mindful of when you're putting these pieces back together. And some of these pieces are due to a lot of torque and vibration, or not due, but they're subjected to a lot of torque and vibration. So you got to make sure you use some type of thread locker and torque the parts accordingly to make sure that they don't vibrate loose and break apart. But yeah, so we finally got the crank arms and the chain ring and the spider and everything sorted out. We got the bottom bracket, bottom bearing in. Got the cassette on. We got the derailleur on. Got my cool favorite pedals on. And yeah, so the bike is pretty much 90% done. It's rideable. I went and took it for a test ride. And the difference is so noticeable because of the smoothness of the new bottom bearing and the way that the new crank is. It's just very, very smooth compared to the stock Shimano crank that had the square taper bottom bearing in it. So vast improvement. I'm super tired, as y'all probably can tell, but it's finally done. Now all I gotta do is the last part, which is going to be shifting these Shimano shifters for my SRAM shifters that are actually like for this cassette, so I can go through all the gears. It's gonna be so epic. I can't wait to do that. So that is coming up next. Stick with me because this is gonna be almost done. And several days later, welcome back to this project, Diverge. So I got a little tied up. Life happened, got busy. Project took the what do they call it? Went on the back burner. And then I had to order some parts as well, so that also took some time. But now I got everything I need. I got my cables, I got my bar tape, I got everything I need to finish this project, I hope now. So now it's gonna be time-lapse mode, me running these last few cables, putting the bar tape on, and then I'm gonna go downstairs and tune the bike. So here we go. Hopefully this is the last stretch and I can finish this project. And I got some cool mods on this bike now. And it's a little bit lighter. Yay! Alright, so like I said before, I'm not really doing this for the weight savings, but some of these parts I can't help but notice the difference. Like this right here, this is the left hand shifter and brake. And yeah, this thing is 250 grams. This one right here is 130 grams. Wow, that's crazy, right? Didn't expect that. All right, everyone, I'm pretty happy with the results. I got my brakes tuned perfectly now with my new levers, shift levers. I have the hoods pushed a little bit forward, so that's probably, in case some of y'all notice, I'm reusing my grip tape, and that's just because I want to, see if that's where I really want my hoods to be before I switch up the tape permanently. So brakes are tuned, front and rear. They like bite really good. I really like these cheap Techno brakes. Back in the day, an entry level brake like this, it didn't have inboard and outboard adjustment, but now even this entry level brake, you can adjust the inboard and outboard pad, which is really cool. It makes it really easy to tune your brakes properly. So the brakes are tuned up. Now all I gotta do is tune the rear derailleur, and I'm done, and I can go finally ride this thing properly. So happy. All right, I'm finally down to the last thing. All I gotta do is set up my rear derailleur and tune it, and I'm done. So here we go. About to knock this out so I can go ahead and test drive this thing finally all the way complete. Alright, I have successfully tuned my rear derailleur. All I gotta do is snip this cable and put a crimp on it. There it goes. All the way through here. My Specialized Diverge is done. I got it set up how I want it. Yeah, it's been a long journey, but finally got through with this thing. Where should I start? I guess I'll start talking about the actual parts that I used. So the parts that I use, I got all this stuff used, first of all. Let me start there. I got all these parts used, and I spent a total of about $250 for the used parts, and then minus a few things that I had to buy separately, like the chain I had to buy separately, and I had to buy these crank rings separately because I wanted to go to a 42, and the crank ring that came on here was like a 52 or something like that. So I had to like buy a few little small things here and there separately to get it how I wanted it to be. But in the end, it was all worth it. So let's go over the parts. So let me find my notes real quick for you guys so I can go all the way down the notes. And so yes. Let's start with the tires. I changed my tires out. I went with these Gravel King 700 by 38 Gravel Kings. They're awesome. I've only had one puncture so far. Great tires. Let's see. This SRAM Force carbon crank. I got this in the package deal off from this guy on Craigslist. It's super light. It's super stiff. It's way better than the cheap Shimano crank that I had on there that came with the bike stock. It's awesome the amount of weight that this thing saves, and it spins a lot better. And it's a what do they call it? The through bottom bracket. So yeah, it's just awesome. What else? Rival 1 rear derailleur. This rear derailleur right here, man, it shifts so accurate and so precise and so quick. It is like a world different from the derailleur that actually came on here, which was the Shimano Claris derailleur, which shifted very, very slow and very sluggish, even when you try to tune it. But this thing right here is just like bang, 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 quick. It's amazing. Let's see what else. That's the derailleur. The next thing that I got was this 1136 cassette. This is a SRAM PG 1130 rear cassette. And this cassette, it just works flawless. Every time you shift, it just goes right up. It goes right down. Yeah, it's just really quick, really fast, really precise shifting, and for where I live, it gives me enough range in the gears to do pretty much everything I want to do. What else? That's the cassette. The chain. I had to buy the chain separately, so that was $23 I think on Amazon. The Rival shifters. Now this was one thing that really surprised me, was these Rival shifters. I'm surprised how much lighter these shifters are than the shifters that I took off. The Shimano Claris shifters were actually really heavy, and I had no clue that there could be so much of a weight difference. But yeah, these work great. This double tap, I'm still kind of getting used to it, but it seems to work pretty much fine. And yeah, it just the shifting is like thunderbolt fast. That's the shifter, bottom bracket, SRAM. Let's see, I already talked about this 42 tooth chain ring that I had to put on there. I also had to change the spider. I had to go from a 130 millimeter spider to a 110 millimeter spider to make this 42 tooth chain ring work. So I had to do that. And shifter cables and pretty much handlebar tape. And just doing those couple of little things, man, it makes this bike feel like a whole new bike. And the reason why I did this was because I wanted a one-by setup, because even on my mountain bike and obviously on this bike, I never like use my front derailleur. I never shift down to the smaller chain ring ever, like ever. And I mean, I don't really do any like super crazy like steep climbs or anything like that, but I figured that, you know, it was kind of pointless to have all that extra stuff going on in the front and have that extra chain ring, and why not just make it a simpler setup? So when I went to go buy a Diverge, looking online, the cheapest Diverge that I could have purchased from Specialized in a one-by setup was somewhere to the tune of, let me look at it right now, $5,000. And I was saying to myself, you know what, that doesn't really make sense. Let me see if I can set this up myself and build this out exactly how I want it. So I bought this bike. This is a Specialized E5, and yeah, you can get these bikes for a steal right now, like a little bit more than $1,000. And yeah, I put a couple of $100 more into it, and I have a bike that just rides phenomenally now. Like, it feels like a complete different bike. Like, I can't even express to y'all how happy I am with this setup. Like, it was a labor of love. It took me a second to get this thing set up properly, you know, finding the right parts and experimenting and stuff like that. But I finally got it the way I want, and I am so happy. Everything about the bike now is just great. Like, it's just awesome. It's amazing. It rides so good, and it's so crisp now. And I absolutely love the bike. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I wanted to say about this bike before I end this vlog, other than it took me a long time to finish this. I can't think of what it was, but oh, I tuned my brakes. Yeah, so I tuned my brakes, and now I got my brakes really, really dialed in. So they have, like, they're nice and grippy, and they stop really, really good. And I'm just overall just really happy with this bike. It's comfortable. I use it to go to work almost every day. And yeah, oh, the other thing was, when I was in the middle of doing this whole project, I got to the point where I still had my 8-speed derailleur on here, but I was using the 11-speed components. And believe it or not, it actually worked. It worked bad, but I was still able to commute back and forth to and from work with the 8-speed derailleur with 11-speed setup. So yeah, it pretty much worked, minus 3 gears. And I got around like that for a week or two while I was waiting for parts to get shipped in. But now that I have everything together the way that it should be in its proper way, this bike is phenomenal. And I'm so glad I didn't go out there and drop 5 G's on the regular, not regular, but the specialized Diverge Expert X1. And instead, I went and bought the aluminum frame and built it up how I wanted it. So yeah, I absolutely love my bike now. Thanks for watching. Well, I loved it before, but now I really, really love it. Thanks for watching KRT LYFE, KRT LYFE with the Y, wrenching in a parking deck, wrenching in an apartment right now. Finally got this job done. You ever done those vlogs where you were like, man, is this vlog ever going to come to an end? Am I ever going to finish this? That's pretty much what this vlog was like. But I'm done now. Thanks for hanging in there with me, y'all. KRT LYFE, I'm out. Peace.